สวัสดีครับมาบูไฮ Hola. Hi. It's Go, admin Go of KP1 Worldwide tonight. I feel so glad indeed. I couldn't believe that I got such a leader in Mrs. USA contest this year with me tonight. I'm really impressed by her bio, and I would love all my fans worldwide to get to know her more in the she a veteran beauty queen. Okay, are you ready then to know Charnae Ware Miss Alabama 2022? Hi, how are you, Charnae? สวัสดีค
Good.
รับ
How are you? Hi, everyone. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share with you all this evening the wonderful things I've done through my pageant journey, through my life. A little backstory about me: I am 25 years old. I live in Columbus, Georgia, which is the border of Phoenix City, Alabama, as well. I currently work as the executive director of Keep Columbus Beautiful, which is an environmental nonprofit. So I get to work with the local city government to do different enforcements that help with our environment. I am not new to pageantry, as Co mentioned. I have done pageants in the past, so this one is probably going to be my final last pageant because as you're going to learn through this bio, I'm very, very busy. So I'm very excited to go out with a bang and be getting ready to go to the national competition and meet some other ladies who have the same mission to express, enjoy, and enhance our earth. Because even though we're in different places, I think it's very important that we find ways to connect and to advocate for our earth because we live in different places, but we live on the same planet. So that's what you're going to learn about me today. It's so many things I'm going to share. And so hopefully you'll learn something from the two of us today that excites you. So I'm so excited.
Wow. So it just started, my fans. You will be amazed by her communication skill. Okay, it's just starting. I'm telling you, she got a bachelor degree of mass communication. So it never surprised me how well and amazingly she convey her message. Okay, and she will leave us all in awe, okay, when we're going through about interview tonight. So, Shanae, my name is Cole, okay, and I would love to know, according to you, you already contest in the pageant before, but not Miss Earth. But why you chose Miss Earth this time anyway?
So, with my current job working with the environment and the local legislation, I realized there's not a lot involvement with connecting pageantry with what you actually enjoy. So, this was the first time I was actually able to find a pageant that has a mission that I enjoy enforcing. A lot of times when we do pageants, we have these platforms and we have these great ideas, but can we really say we really care for them and are we really making an impact? And so,
Hmm.
why I chose Miss Earth is because it's what I do every day. I'm caring for the environment, I'm advocating, I'm educating, I'm getting people enthused about recycling. So, I was like, well, I can mix my love of pageantry with my love of the environment and actually make a difference with other young women. And it's been so empowering. I've been able to do so many different programs through Miss Earth. And I've even been able to do a couple of legislation things. So keep your eye for that. I'm probably going to highlight some of that later, but definitely Miss Earth was really close to my heart. So definitely.
Mm, right. So, Shannon, you mentioned quite often as we started about your advocacy. Would you mind to go a little bit deeper so our audience will get some touch on your advocacy in Miss 2022?
Yeah. Of course. So, one of the things that I focus on is helping people connect to nature, right? So, we're in all these different places. So, sometimes recycling may not be offered in your area, and litter may not be the biggest problem in your area. So, being able to help people really connect with what they care about in the nature or in the earth is how I plan to help advocate for earth, right? Because for me, my passion is just everything, right? I can't pick just one thing because everything is important to us. Trees, litter because it affects our water quality, air pollution, it affects our health. And so, what I typically do, I have community gardens. And through these community gardens, I help people get into the garden, really learn, okay, flowers, there's medicine that can come from this. The other day I had a tree, well, I didn't, it wasn't mine, but I was a participant in a tree walk. And we
Mm,
learned that a lot of medicine has came from trees, right? And so when
right.
help people connect to that, it's kind of like you're advocating, educating, and you're empowering. I think when we are motivated, it can help our mental health. I know me, I'm not the best person when it comes to running. I actually don't like running, but I enjoy the scenery. And so when you're in the nature, when you're doing these things, you're actually empowering yourself. And empowering yourself helps us empower the earth ultimately. And that's how I advocate. I don't have just one specific cause that I focus on because the earth needs it all. So it's kind
Yeah.
of hard to just do one thing.
Understand. So, I would love to know your point of view, Shanae. Um, in the in the world nowadays, what do you think is actually the root cause of the primal environmental problem in the world in general?
So one thing I think that we can do better with is food waste, right? And that's kind of an area that's sensitive because in certain areas there's in poverty, there's, we may not have access to food, and being able to really learn about composting, being able to learn about how we can regenerate things, I think
Mm,
that plays a major role in our environment. Another
mm,
thing is air pollution. So for me, I experienced a very, very, very bad air dust. I had my face swole up. I couldn't
mm,
breathe. And it all came down to the dust that was in the air in San Diego Zoo. And
mm,
so for me, I think air quality, food waste, and making sure we have proper water quality are some things that we can focus on as a nation, as everyone, because without those things, it's impossible for us to live.
mm,
And so finding ways we can reduce food waste, finding
mm.
ways to recreate our food, using your leftovers to create new meals. I'm big on watching that on YouTube because I don't like leftovers after the first day, but I also don't want to waste it. And so making sure we are educating ourselves on what we can do in small steps, I think
Mm.
helps us take it on a larger level.
Right. So, as far as you working on advocating, your advocacy and arousing a lot of people awareness on environmentalism. What is the hardest thing you finding on your work?
The hardest thing I would say I've found is doing behavior change because
Mm,
sometimes we've gotten so used to doing things like not recycling or people who litter, trying to get them to change the way they think about the environment, especially when you hear the words climate change, right? We all kind
mm,
of cringe up and like, but there's micro levels that we can take to get to the larger aspect that we need to enhance, right? So I think the challenge is changing people's perspective of climate change, realizing that it's not just a big, huge bubble, but it's a small area where you can start.
mm,
I think that's a big, big challenge that I face because traditionally people think very small when it comes to helping the environment, or they think too big and they think they don't have enough power to do it. And so
mm,
being able to change that behavior and way of thinking has been a little challenging. But
mm.
the fight will continue. We'll make it happen. And starting with that small level is definitely important.
Right, right. When I go through your IG and your bio, I'm very, impressed indeed because you tend to not actually tend. You're very dedicated to your cause, and especially you reach out to many organizations in your neighborhood. So I'm wondering, in the minuscule level, like children or school, have
Mhm.
you reach out or put your enough effort to get them aware of what happened in the world at
Yes.
the moment.
Yes, yes, yes. Because I believe the children are the start. Because not only are they the ones who are going to come after us and have to take care of the earth, but they're the ones who actually tend to educate their parents a little bit more at home to get involved. So, what I've recently done, which I'm very proud of, I created, along with my previous assistant, a recycling and litter education coloring book for students. I think this is a great way for them to learn about, recycling properly in their neighborhood at home, not littering. And so I do go to schools. It's slowed down since the pandemic, but I do normally go to schools. I host Magic of Recycling, so it's a magic show where a magician comes and teaches them fun things about recycling through magic. And it's I kind of question it myself because I'm like, I believe in magic, but how did you do it? Like it kind of gets me, but definitely educating the kids. I think starting them small and teaching them those little things can help us overall because we're going to get old and it continues to go that way and they can pass that down when they get older. So I tend to do different readings with them, different projects. They love the magic of recycling. I can't top that. But hopefully they enjoy this coloring book that I just created. So very excited to share that with them.
Right. So, because we are far away, and we part like 10,000 miles away. So I have no idea how you manage, all littering over there. So might you give some idea in your neighborhood or in Georgia or in Alabama? Okay, where you advocating your advocacy, how they manage and why you so into this,
Right.
I think it would still have more room to improve. That's why you catch this issue and highlight it to the society.
Right. And litter is actually a very big issue in my area currently. So what we've done, one thing I believe it starts with up here, right? So our leadership. So wherever you are, you have to try to get your leadership involved. So one thing I've done here that I think can carry out into other countries and all over the world is involving those leaders who can make that change. So one thing we did here was putting them in the forefront, saying we care about our city. We want to live in a beautiful city. So we went out with our city council and our mayor of our local city, and we did a cleanup. And through that cleanup, we picked up like 17,000 pounds of trash. That included tires. There was a
Mm,
car pulled out the river in one cleanup. There was just, don't mind my dog. Sorry.
it's
He barked
okay.
at everything. But yeah, there
You can
was,
join. Shannon, she or he can join.
I know he wants to preach about the environment too. It's amazing. But but yeah, definitely that really affected some change because the citizens saw, okay, if they care, I need to care. And we put litter signs out. I created the Peachy Clean and Green campaign. So creating slogans can typically help people, understand the concept of not littering.
Mm,
It became important to me because, like you heard, my dog, he eats everything off the ground, and so
mm,
does any other dog. So if you're walking your dog and it's litter all over the place, imagine your dog choking on something like that. So that's why I'm very passionate about litter and helping people figure out how to, do better, not make our earth a trash can. We don't want that.
So, okay. I would love to get into a little bit detail, or or into the process of your advocacy on littering. So, what kind of message that you encourage people around on how to do better on littering?
So there's this small thing I do, and it seems silly to people, but I actually have a litter bag in my truck.
Mm,
So typically, what happens is it's not only when people throw stuff out the window,
mm,
but it's necessarily also when trucks don't cover their beds. So
mm,
if you have an uncovered load, things like that. But for me, what I do, I keep that litter bag in my car. I do videos on YouTube,
mhm,
teaching people what happens. I do different ads on social media. And I'm
mm,
also trying to work with legislation on doing things like plastic bag bans and balloon release bans. It's not an issue everywhere, but if we can do something small like that, I think people everywhere else will start to know what challenges they need to bring to their leadership as well.
right. I really love how you approach to your advocacy. Like you reach out to like the government sector or agency to get them support. And
Mhm.
I would like to know how how well you get the feedback from government sector over there?
It's actually very good feedback. I think once you kind of educate them that it's important to those around them, they kind of tag on to it, right? Because they want to be successful in their reign or in their
Mm,
position, and you want to also be successful in making change for the environment. I've
mm,
had very positive feedback towards that. Of course, doing things like I just worked with the city here to increase our litter fine from 500 to 1,000. So that
mm,
took some serious participation from legislation. I was glad that council voted on that and
mm,
different things like that. It's not too hard, but it's kind of nerve wracking, right? Like
mm,
you get very intimidated when you're talking to people who are in legislation, but you can't get intimidated. You have to understand they want to help you as well. And so wherever you are, whoever you're talking to, just know that you're making change, whether they, tag onto it or whether they don't. You made the change by taking that action. And I think that's what's important to me. Being confident enough to have that conversation with them has led
mm.
them into having conversations with other people. And it may keep going in different areas. So they participate somewhat as much as they can. So
um
I get a push out the office, like, oh, I don't want to hear about that today. I got other busy stuff going on. But it's always fun to bother them with environmental stuff. So
so Charnae, would you agree if I'm saying that in my point of view, you're such a very strong leader in what you're doing?
I think so. I consider myself, I think first, in order to be a leader, you have to be a follower. For the
Mm,
longest, I have like literally been in the environment trying to figure out, okay, why am I learning this? Why am I learning this? But all of
mm,
these little things I've learned along the way have helped me to really lead people. Because I think in order to lead people, you have to know who you are and the mission that you stand for. So I would consider myself a strong leader.
okay, okay, right. At least I got you right. Okay. Now 1 point for me. Okay. So,
Sorry,
Charnae,
use my
um,
work phone. Speaking of work, it never stops ringing. I forget to turn off both phones. So y'all forgive me. Let it ring.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm very fine. I love the ringtone. Okay, just give me more.
I know. It reminds me of like an old folk tune, but with a little hip to it. So we all just got a dance break. We just got a dance. That's all it was. Just take a little dance break.
Right. So, Shane, it's just my observation, okay, in general. Would you agree that female, okay,
Mhm.
tend to be more aware of the environmentalism nowadays? Not
I
actually nowadays. I mean, I've been for quite some time, okay, lately until
right.
now.
I do believe that it's been a women-led advocating issue for some time. I think that because we're naturers at heart, I have this saying, we nurture our nature. And so
Mm,
women are tending to be more of nurturers and caregivers. And so when we tend to feel and care for something, we put our
mm,
all into it. And so I think we have a gap to fill with other genders, and with everything going on, we definitely have to diversify and include everyone. I think that the environment plays a role in the LGBTQ and the
mm,
communities of that nature. It plays a big role in everything. So I think getting all of us involved is a gap we need to fill. But for
mm.
some time, it's definitely been us women as naturers and nurturers who tend to care about the environment, but we have some work to do to really pull everyone else in.
Right. So, let me know what kind of initiative if you're going to do that you can draw more attraction of men toward your advocacy or toward environmentalism.
So I believe that the biggest thing we can do to pull and everyone in is part of that finding their nature, right? So if we have someone who's in construction, helping them find ways to be eco-friendly in construction, helping them really identify, the things they like and the things they do. If they like football, helping them find out how they can be more sustainable in football.
Mm,
It's just about finding what they like, finding what they connect to, and the
mm,
program I do have is Community Garden. I actually have more male participation in that than female. So hopefully that is helping because they're getting in that garden and they're realizing that it's kind of helping them, because a lot of times men don't know how to cope with their feelings, and men
Mm,
oftentimes don't know how to connect. And so when they're in the garden, they're able to really like find themselves, kind of decompress. And so
mm.
maybe doing things like that, my program with community gardens can help them, hopefully. Other than that, I still have some research to do to figure it out.
Okay, so what about LGBTQA plus community? How would you draw them to get involved more in our environmental agenda?
One thing I've noted about that community is they are fashionable. Okay. That is no bias, but they are fashionable. Anytime I meet someone and they have the pin on or any, they are in style. So one thing I would encourage them to do is check out sustainable fashion, check out sustainable cosmetics. There are lots of eco-friendly makeup brands. There are lots of sustainable fashion designers out there. A couple of my pageant sisters have a platform that focuses on sustainable fashion. So helping them learn how to do stuff sustainably, I think, plays a major role. And then also, we don't realize that the environment of our work, like when it comes to their rights, it's not just about, caring for our environment. I think of Miss Earth as like thinking of all things justice as well. So making sure they have equal rights on their jobs, making sure they have equal rights anywhere they go. So it's not just about, recycling, sustainability, eco-friendly. It's about having your rights as well. So definitely important.
Agree, totally agree. And also, I really, love what you say in one clip. I think in your IG about um, other incentive that we could get when we involve or when we supporting green agenda, such as the improve the improvement of mental illness life. So how would you mind to elaborate more on on this connection?
Right, right. So, as I mentioned with the community garden, there's a study that's been done by several journalists and several researchers that spending time in nature, it does something to your body in a state of where you feel a lot calmer, you're a lot less stressed. And
Mm,
because of that, your blood pressure decreases, so you have a healthier body. And
mm,
it's something about the atmosphere of being in nature where you're just able to just woosah. And so, if anyone's really curious about those studies, I would recommend that you check them out on Google. A lot of times, those research journals are on SagePub, and you can kind of preview them. But the connection there is that because the nature provides us so much fresh air, and that's why it's very important that we have healthy air quality. Because it's like I don't want to breathe in toxins. I don't want to go around, sniffing, gases and stuff. So it's very important that when you have a healthy environment, you're able to actually enjoy it. You're in a better mental state. You're not stressing.
mm,
Um, and actually, being in green space also reduces crime. So
mm,
anytime you have an area that has a potential amount of high green space, you have
mm,
lower crime rates. So it's definitely a big part of our lives for sure.
mm. Right. Okay. So I'm wondering, would you agree about having more of plant-based diet would save the earth
Ooh,
better?
that's a tough one because I tried a plant based diet. And I have to be completely honest, that takes dedication and hard work. I would put it this way: do not do anything that you're uncomfortable with, right?
Mm,
I would be a hypocrite to tell you to take a plant based diet. That takes commitment. Take
mm,
baby steps. Try buying more vegetables. Try buying more products that don't have a lot of produce that go into it. So
mm,
buying more natural products or growing your own vegetables, start baby steps. But if you're ready to dive in and go plant based, I'm here for it because a good Impossible Burger, they actually taste like burgers for real. So you might can commit. If you find that out, come to me because that's my weakness. Okay, I like food. But I do think that having a vegetarian diet plays a huge role on our environment. It's up to pertaining and preserving our resources, but definitely do some research before you do that. It's not easy. Definitely not easy. Do you like food? I'm a food person, Co. Are you a food person?
yes, I am. And also, plant-based diet.
Okay.
At least I think once meal a week. Okay, one meal a week or twice. I
I'm
try.
taking notes. I'm taking
But
notes.
actually, you're right. You know, it require a lot of devotion. Okay, it's quite hard indeed for a meat lover at the
Mhm.
beginning. But my friend suggest me, you can be a little part of our world community to make the world a better place with a greener initiative. We can start little by little by ourselves. Okay, I think I buy her idea. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's why I buy on.
You started small. You started small. That's where I am. I'm starting small. An Impossible Burger here, and then next thing you know, I'm gonna be full blown plant based everything. So
And I,
it's
I
doing
totally
good.
agree with you, that we shouldn't force ourselves for doing something that
Mhm.
we not ready yet.
Right.
So, yeah, just that's why I just, try do just one or twice a week, which is,
Mhm.
I think, that's enough for me. Okay,
That's
so
yeah.
at the moment. Right. And also, I'm wondering, okay, I would love to get your point of view because in some comments in Thai post, it said that according to, I think one Swedish young lady who got Nobel Prize used to mention that planting a tree wouldn't
Mhm.
help, wouldn't help the world greener. I would love to know your idea. Would you agree or not?
I disagree. I think that goes back to my statement of, we kind of closed our minds a little bit to the way we think about going green. Trees are very supplemental to our lives. I'm actually going to pull up my notes because I went on the tree walk that I told you about yesterday, and there's one specific tree that provides medicine. There was one specific tree that, provided, the main source of ingredient for aspirin. And so if we're using our environment to create medications, if we're using our environment to create paper, different things like that, trees oftentimes are very important to tree canopy in a neighborhood. There is actually a certain amount of trees you have to have in a neighborhood to be effective, to be a green city. And that's a very important of green space. So I would say it doesn't necessarily help you go green, but it's very, very important and essential to a green space and a green city. So,
Mm, right, right. So, Shane, would you mind if I would love to translate some of your message to Thai audience? Okay, it's quite interesting. Okay, สวัสดีนะคะแฟนๆคนไทยนะครับวันนี้โค้ชสัมภาษณ์คุณชาแนลแวร์นะครับมิสอลาบามาเอิร์ธนะคะ2022นะคุณชาแนลนะคะเป็นคนที่เก่งมากๆเลยนะคะอายุ25เคยประกวดนะครับมิสจอร์เจีย USA นะครับนะก็คือเป็นตัวแทนของเขาเรียกเขตนะครับในรัฐนะครับแล้วก็ประมาณปี2017และ18นะครับนะแล้วก็ปีนี้เนี่ยก็ลงมิสเอิร์ธนะครับแต่ที่น่าสนใจมากๆเลยคุณเชเน่เนี่ยคือเป็นผู้หญิงเก่งอะนะคือสนับสนุนเกี่ยวกับเรื่องการทิ้งขยะนะครับทิ้งขยะยังไงเพื่อแล้วการนำวัสดุเนี่ยให้ใช้ได้แบบว่าไง upcycling เนาะ upcycling อ่ะนะคะคือคุณชาเน่สนับสนุนเรื่องนี้และที่สำคัญเนี่ยที่โป้ชอบคุณชาเน่มากๆคือคุณชาเน่เนี่ยมีความเป็น leadership สูงมากคุณชาเน่เนี่ยจะติดต่อหรือว่าประสานงานนะคะไป advocate เนี่ยกับแทบจะทุกภาคส่วนเลยทั้ง private sector public sector นะคะแล้วก็เป็น executive director นะคะของโปรเจกต์นะคะเดี๋ยวโป้จะให้แกพูดนะคะแล้วก็ทางด้านการศึกษาเนี่ยคุณชาเน่เนี่ยจบทางด้านสื่อสารมวลชนนะคะปริญญาตรีแล้วตอนนี้กำลังศึกษาปริญญาโทนะคะPublic Administration นะคะก็คือการบริหารภาคสาธารณะนะคะpolicy ใหญ่แล้วก็ในอนาคตเนี่ยนะคะก็คือจะกำลังนะคะจะสานต่อนะคะเพื่อเป็นทนายนะคะเป็นทนาย คดีอาญานะคะก็เป็นคนเก่งมากคราวนี้เนี่ยมีหลายๆมุมมองที่โก้ถามกับคุณชาเน่นะครับอย่างเช่นโก้ได้ถามคุณชาเน่ว่าคุณชาเน่เห็นด้วยไหมกับว่าน้องน้องชาวสวีเดนนะครับที่ได้รับรางวัลโนเบลนะครับที่พูดว่าการปลูกต้นไม้เนี่ยคนปลูกต้นไม้แต่ละต้นเนี้ยไม่ได้ช่วยให้ลดโลกร้อนหรือโลกเขียวดีขึ้นน่ะคราวนี้คุณชาเน่บอกโอ้เขาไม่เห็นด้วยเลยเขาไม่จริงอันนี้จากประสบการณ์จากโครงการของเขาเองหรือในละแวกบ้านเขาเองเขาบอกไม่อ่ะคือมันช่วยนะการปลูกต้นไม้คนละต้นคนละมือสองมือเนี่ยมันก็ทำให้โลกดีขึ้นทำให้แบบว่าอากาศมันสะอาดขึ้นนะครับตรงนี้นะคราวนี้เนี่ยก็ชื่นชมมากๆเลยก็ถามว่าเนี่ยรู้สึกไหมสังเกตไหมผู้หญิงเนี่ยจะมีส่วนร่วมในการรักษาสิ่งแวดล้อมมากกว่าผู้ชายหรือว่าเพศอื่นๆเนี่ยบอกอ๋อเนี่ยจริงเลยแหละอันนี้เขาบอกจริงเขาจะสังเกตเหมือนกันเพราะว่าผู้หญิงเนี่ยจะมีความอ่อนโยนนะแล้วมีความแบบเหมือนnurturing เนาะมีความแบบทะนุถนอมอะไรพวกนี้มันจะทำให้ใกล้กับธรรมชาติแต่ถามแล้วคราวนี้ก็ถามว่าเราทำยังไงให้กับเพศอื่นๆอย่างเช่นเพศชายเนี่ยมีความมาใส่ใจรักโลกเหมือนกับเราเหมือนกับเพศหญิงมากขึ้นอ๋อเราก็ต้องหาสิ่งที่เขาสนใจสิอย่างสมมุติเขาชอบฟุตบอลเราก็เอาฟุตบอลมาล่ออะไรประมาณนี้นะน่ารักก็เลยถามว่าแล้ว LGBTQ ล่ะเขาจะใช้วิธียังไงที่จะดึงพลัง LGBTQ เนี่ยมาช่วยรักโลกให้มากขึ้นนะคะให้ช่วยรักษาโลกเขาบอกโอ้LGBT เขาจะเก่งเรื่องแฟชั่นนะจะแบบทำอะไรเก๋ไก๋เพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยก็ต้องไงก็สนับสนุนเขาเรื่องอะไรคอสเมติกเครื่องสำอางใช่ไหมเครื่องสำอางที่แบบทำมาจากธรรมชาติอะไรพวกนี้นะคะที่จะดึงเขามาได้คือคุณชาเน่เนี่ยเป็นคนที่ฉลาดมากๆเลยนะครับนะอันนี้เนี่ยคุณชาเน่ก็คุยกับโก้มานะครับอันนี้โก้ก็เลยเล่าให้ฟังนะครับ so for all the fans whoever need to ask Charnae Ware any questions please do so okay Charnae ready to answer all the questions mm-hmm.
Yes, I
Okay
am.
yes especially Aura Ayusa I think she's Indonesia uh-huh
Okay.
yeah, she Indonesia. She asked me, "Can we ask a question, please, please,
Yes,
please do so." Okay,
please.
Shanae ready to answer any question. Okay,
Yes.
so also, Shanae, have you been to Thailand or
No,
Asia?
I want to. I am really looking forward to traveling there. I have heard so many great things. First of all, the food. We talked about food, the scenery, and so hopefully I can make it there one day.
Mm.
I will make it there one day. That's one of my top list of places to go. So
I wish that before you come here, would you mind to bring your program that you're doing at the moment to get us know about it more? I think you
yeah.
actually now serve as executive director of your program. Would you
Yeah.
mind to tell us about your program? What's the name of the program and what it's all about?
So it's called Keep Columbus Beautiful. It's affiliate of a Keep America Beautiful. I think they are now opening things nationwide. They're slowly bringing organizations to existence. So it would be a great opportunity to have a Keep Thailand or Keep Indonesia, keep all of those places beautiful. It's not impossible to do. What those organizations focus on is exactly everything we've talked about: water quality, sustainability, litter, recycling, education, working with students, working with the local government. There are so many ways that you can get involved. It's specific to your city or your area. So, what we do is that organization, we try to find fun ways to connect people to the environment. And so that program is definitely open to anyone.
Okay, so it's so
Question.
speedy. Okay, you got a question. Would you like me to repeat by reading it, or you can read it and you can answer immediately, Jenny?
Let's read it out loud. So, hello.
Okay. Okay, so thank you indeed for your question. Aura, Ayuma, Ayusa. I think I'm sure that you from probably okay Philippines. Okay, Filipinos. Good evening, Ko and Miss Alabama Charnae Ware. Okay, my question is, Philippines is currently facing a catastrophe from a super typhoon, right, or
Mhm.
typhoon audit, okay, in Filipinos, and it's still in our area of responsibility as of the moment. What is your message to Filipinos who are experiencing the dilemma brought by the disaster? And is this typhoon a result of climate change?
That's definitely a tough question because there are a lot of things we're experiencing. Kentucky and here in the U.S. just had a catastrophic tornado go through, and there were thousands of damage done, like lots of damage done, lots of lost lives. And I think when things like this happen in different countries and it happens, it hurts our, it hurts us to know it's going on. And my message to them is to stay strong and to know that there are resources that are being poured into the well-being of your atmosphere, and that certain things like this is a result of climate change, which is why it's very important for us to connect that nature of stories like this to others to help them understand this is why it's important to care about climate change, because the effects and the decisions we make here on our planet, it affects our air, it affects our storm systems, it affects everything that goes into something like this. And it's tragic that it happens, but it's good to know that we are all pulling together to make that fight and to better our earth, because we ultimately don't want to have to experience this, and we want to
Mm,
make sure that everyone has a safe place to live. And I would use this story to highlight to others this is what happens when we don't care for our environment. It causes storms, it causes the corruption in our environment. So definitely a great question, and I my prayers and thoughts are with those families and those in that area. So definitely.
right, okay. Thank you indeed, Aura. Your question is just come at the right time because Philippines experience the disastrous, okay, consequences due to typhoon lately. And I send my prayer and my love and my concern to all my Filipino fans and to everyone over there. Okay, I wish that everyone will get assistance as soon as possible. Okay, my heart is all with you. All right, and also, Shanae, because I think you now doing semester on the
Mhm.
public administration. Okay, according to like the problem due to climate change somehow. All right, if you in power, that you got authority to lead the policy. Okay,
Mhm.
uh, what kind of bedrock of policy or administering that you're going to do, like to put some cushion for
Right,
your people,
right.
as to lessen any possibility to be prone to this kind of consequences.
Right. So I haven't reached a large level just yet. I'm trying to take the small approach. But three of my main focuses that I would do as policy analysis and to incorporate as policy is balloon release. I think we take that moment and we think it's a very, embracing time to remember someone. But when we were releasing those balloons, we're actually releasing a lot of toxins into our environment. And so, one thing I would like for us to do is look at more sustainable ways, look at more policies that can enforce air balloon or balloon release, helium balloon releases, because that's something that we could definitely do better on. I think that's a small policy, at least on my local level, that's an issue. And like I mentioned, our air quality and our water quality is very important. And so, one thing I'd make sure is that we still have access to water quality testing kits. I know our local Columbus Waterworks used to offer those, and I think it should be in our policies that if we're wanting to test our water ourselves, that we should be able to. And so, making sure that things like that continue. And on a larger scale, I think making sure that there's a policy in place that all communities of all income can have access to healthy food. I think there is enough fast food places in a certain area that it should definitely match the amount of healthy food that's in that area as well. Environmental justice is something that I want to tackle through my public administration and policy degree.
So, Shanae, what do you think about when some people um, show their concern about whenever we raise environmentalism to them, and they tend to divert their attention to somewhere else because they think that to enhance environmental um, surrounding in the world, it would come up with some expense, and they probably wouldn't like to be incurred by those expense. So if you have the power, so how would you balance extra expense due to improving environmental lism in the world,
That's a
and
good.
still make people living sustainably in terms of finance?
That's a very good question. I think, being sustainable can kind of dip in your pockets a little bit. And as far as when it comes to policy and different things that we enforce, this is why it's important to make sure that we have a positive on top of the negative. And what I mean by that is that if we do things like taxes on plastic bags or look into different things that can kind of be a slap on the wrist for doing bad, it can kind of help us in the long run because one thing I know is that when we have an opportunity to do better and to want to do better, we will. We can always find sustainable ways. And actually, being sustainable helps us save money. I know for me, I don't buy as many paper towels. I have an old t shirt, I cut it up, and that is now my paper towel. So, one thing I would tell someone and encourage someone to financially be in a good place to be sustainable is that you don't have to spend a lot of money to be sustainable. You don't have to go spend a lot of money on, like me and my pageant wardrobe. I'm not spending thousands of dollars on pageant wardrobe. I'm going to be sustainable. And so that's one thing that I can encourage to someone is that even if you start with nothing, start with something. Um, and I definitely would challenge my leadership to find ways to place and more incentives for being green. I think that's an area we lack, like giving rewards for taking your Publix does. I don't know, your local grocery store may have an incentive for you bringing your own reusable bag. I know mine does. And so you just have to be very cautious about your area, finding out what works for your area specifically, and making it work for you.
Right. Okay. So thank you indeed, Aura, Ayuma, Ayusa. Okay. I think she. Okay. I could probably use the pronoun she. She thank you. Okay, Shanae.
Thank
She thank you.
you.
And she compliment you. A very articulate answer, Miss Alabama. Thank you so for that message, and I wish you good luck on your journey in Mr. USA. Please stop your IG or any social media account so that we can follow you. Okay, so I show Shanae IG, okay, on the screen. So you can follow her at Miss Alabama Earth. Okay. So also, Shanae, also in the bio said that you interested to to probably go into the legality journey in the future. So you actually intended to be a lawyer?
Yes. I
Okay.
still do. I think that my journey has been quite interesting.
Hmm.
But I do plan to go to law school. I think I've just been kind of dropped in places to learn a few things. So I know exactly what law to focus on. And now I know it's environmental and criminal law. And
Hmm.
so, doing that dual program, my goal is to become an environmental law to work with engineering companies, to work with fashion companies, and to just work with overall companies to help them be more sustainable. I think that there are not as many environmental attorneys as there needs to be, at least not on the forefront. So that's my goal there. I hope to attend in 2023. I'm going to take me a nice needed break next year. And hopefully, if given the opportunity to win Miss Earth, that'll be a break to learn something and to tell me, what I need to focus on in law school that we need in our communities, in our nation. So,
Right. So, Chanel, would you mind to show your vision about? I would love to know what the connection between bettering, okay, environmentalism, okay, and also enhancing our I mean, the safety of our society, which will like lessening, lessening the crime rate, sort of.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you, yeah, a lawyer one day.
Yes. So that is a study I hope to continue. I did a small version of the study just recently on how green spaces reduce crime. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all about connecting how a person's mentality and nature changes and switches when it's in different environments, right? And it's also about the way a tree is placed in environments. If a tree is placed in a higher and it's kind of more facing up, then the visuals of things are more clear in a neighborhood and they can actually survey and surveillance crime a little bit better. So green spaces and things like trees, that's why we talked about trees, is very important because being able to see your surroundings, that can help reduce crime. Because if you can see, someone's less likely to do it because they're being surveillance. And then it's also when you're in an area and it's trashed and you just feel like no one cares about your living space. You see litter all over the place, the grass is high, there's no beautification in the area. You don't feel as good about yourself, right? And so trying to find that connection and continuing the resources that I learned when I go to law school to try to develop that study and see how we can really upkeep the green space and reduce crime in that aspect. I think that's going to be one of my favorite projects that I do. I did a small study, but I think I still got a long way to go to figure out what we can do to reduce crime through green space.
Right. Okay. So, might you tell me other incentive that we going to get if we will be more vocal on green agenda?
I believe that we will get a very, very better planet. We will all feel like we've been a part of something bigger than ourselves because the same way we care for our homes is the same way we care for outside. And I think the reward from being more green conscious and putting a green agenda in our mind, we'll notice that things like COVID, things like, the pandemic, we'll have a better understanding of how we can handle those things, and it'll help us overall with our aspects of the future. I think right now green cars is a thing. I'm kind of loving the electric car themes right now, but the more we elevate, the better resources we have.
Right. And at the moment, I think, Shanae, we come to the contemporary time, like a crossroads, like we about to change from fuel-driven vehicle to electricity or solar cell-driven vehicle. But anyway, it wouldn't push as far as we wish because of like the industry still got so many stock of the fuel driven car sort of, and there's a lot of cost incur of that present. So if you have any idea to suggest and you would like to push on greener agenda on about how to transform the uses from fuel to natural driven um, energy vehicle
Hmm.
smoothly. What should you say, or what should you suggest to government, or if you have a power, you can implement it yourself.
Whew. I think right now they're already doing what I would recommend. I believe they're kind of enforcing it more. I believe they're starting to do tax incentives, or at least in my area. I have to do a little bit more research on the national level, but they're offering incentives for driving green cars. And that goes back to kind of what we talked about. When you're doing good, you get good. So I think that would definitely encourage someone to, we all like saving money. Wherever you are, we all like saving money. We like having more money in our pockets than we're spending. And so making sure we are getting those incentives for taking a green initiative and being on a green agenda. And then on the other end of that, to make it a smooth transition, is to, like we talked about with the storms, is to tie into our resources to make sure we're getting them everything they need for times like that. So I definitely think we have a lot of opportunity to make it a smooth transition, but there's lots of more work and research to be done. And I'm excited to do it so much.
Right. So I'm glad that you wouldn't find it challenging, okay? And you said you're excited to go through it. Uh-huh. And also, which end would you going to stay between penalizing or rewarding, citizens as to advocate the greener agenda?
I believe you get more better results when you reward. It's hard to stay on the line of penalizing because that only what I've from my experience, it's only have made things worse when it comes to certain things, right? So we want to highlight the good versus highlighting the bad. I think when we highlight the good effect of what comes from not doing the bad, we get better results. But then on the other end, we do need those policies to enforce. I believe in enforcement over penalizing because when you enforce something, you're able to share with them and show them how important it is and actually relate them to the reason why it's needing to be enforced. When you're penalizing someone, it's kind of like, well, you're just coming at me the wrong way. I don't really see why I should care about this. You're not giving them any follow up as to why they should care. But when you're enforcing something, you're helping them have a better visual, I believe. So I believe in enforcement and rewarding for sure.
Right, right. That's good idea. And also, Shane, we all know that so many parts in the world now advancing into the senior society. All
Right.
right. So I think it's very challenging indeed to implement like the green agenda. Why the
Mhm.
society is advancing into like the aging, more aging one. So what you're gonna do when in many parts in the world tend to have like more aging population, and they probably not be like ready or how can I say active, okay,
Right.
active enough to follow all the green initiative. So the result would be as good as we expected. So what you gonna do? How we still going green effectively while we channeling to the more aging society in now
I
in the
definitely, that's a
now.
great question. The thing I focus on with with that group is to highlight health. I think at that aspect, once you reach a certain age, health is the key to your life, and that's your gym. That becomes the most important thing for you, because we don't know when our time is going to be. So the longer we can preserve our life, I think for them, I would focus on that. Goes back to the conversation of having a green agenda is not just about what you can do; it's about preserving yourself as well. So focusing on food, medicine, helping the aging community identify areas of healthier eating that can help them with their cholesterol, blood pressure, their memory. Focusing on those kind of green initiatives where they don't have to necessarily get out and help us make that change, but they can preserve themselves because they've done the job of preserving the earth. And they are going to continue to need to lead us into that. And so, making sure they're preserving themselves and keeping a healthy lifestyle is how I would help them focus on taking a green initiative, because they would need to make sure they have access to that healthy food. And so that's where they can play a role in that, helping us make sure that we are doing different things with food medicine, doing different things in sustainable technology in medical fields, because there is an area where people focus on sustainable medical equipment. And so that's an area where we have to focus with our aging communities, because we want them to live longer and stay longer. So that's how I would encourage them to be on the green agenda, is the health aspect of the environment, because that's a huge role too.
Right, that's very good answer indeed. And also, I'm wondering, Chane, would you support kind of alternative medication like herbal, medicine to be insert or to be added into treatment nowadays?
I think that's definitely a resource we need to pour into more resources from the environment to play into our medical. I believe Mercy Med here for us as far as my local level, they're working on a lot of food medicine. And I think that's an aspect that can travel across the world. I know certain berries carry different things that can help our bodies. I know for me, there's a couple of trees. There's a sweet gum tree. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but a sweet gum tree is good for medicine. Then you also have weeping willow. From the past, they were known for their attributes in aspirin. And so different things like that is something we have to pour resources into and like look at, because it's like, well, if I don't have to, if I can grow my medicine, then I can help the environment and help myself. So that's definitely something to look into. It's a long fight, lots of research, lots of things to do, but we can, like I said, start on a small level to make it to a larger level.
Also, because okay, I believe that you are animal lover. Okay, because you got puppy, the same as
Who is
mine.
sleeping?
I'm very into my dog. All right, and I'm wondering, indeed, have you ever imagined about animal to be to be a significant role in our preserving environment in the future or even now today?
Yes. So, as a World Wildlife Fund Panda Ambassador, I hope everyone in this room knows what World Wildlife Fund is. If not, I'm going to give you a backstory. World Wildlife Fund is an organization that focuses on wildlife conservation. And so, what I do with them, this is an aspect. When I first got into the environment, that was an area that I was lacking. I didn't quite understand how I could help the animals. But the quickest thing I learned as a panda ambassador is they don't have voices, right? And so, it's our responsibility to make sure that they have an environment that they can live in as well. It's not just about our living, it's about their living. And so being a panda ambassador has been teaching me some ways to have wildlife conservation, like deforestation, making sure we're not, causing harm to their environments is very, very important. And so wildlife conservation is key. I think making sure we're not abusing their rights when it comes to being used for different things. We just have to be very cautious on taking care of our animals. I know my animal sitting over here snoring is very important to me, as he takes a beautiful nap every day in the same spot, just sleeping his life away. Very
How,
important.
okay. There would be there always would be some hard listener, that we need to put a lot of efforts to convince them. So, how you convince them to understand about animal rights, or to get them into what we believe in, that animal right is actually closely related to green agenda
Right.
somehow.
Right. I would help them understand that without animals, it's like we're all a team, right? Animals have their role and their job. We have our role and job, right? And so it's like when you're on your job. If you don't help your coworkers get something accomplished, no one's going to meet their goal, right? And so if we don't help our animals help us, we're all going to be looking at each other like, what's going on? Who's doing what, right? And we don't want that. And so it's very important that you help someone identify, if someone didn't help you do your job, nothing would ever get done. And so helping them understand that animals work for us too. There are certain animals that help preserve different plants in the earth. There are certain animals that keeps pestilence away from plants. I know we think a lot of bad things about certain animals, but if we really research what that animal does and what they're known for, it would help us understand different things about how
Mm,
we can help them help us. We have to look at everything like a team.
mm. Right, right. So, Shane, there's some, some part of the world that I couldn't believe that they still have a big problem about
Yeah.
deforestation. So, would you agree about the sophistication of the society would come at the expense of deforestation?
Yeah. I believe that when we do things like that, we don't realize the long term effect. And so when we have deforestation, it's important that we try to replenish those areas, or at least if it's going to be for something as far as construction, it's good to make sure that it's green construction. So nowadays you have eco-friendly engineering that you can build a greenhouse, right? So at least if you're tearing something down, you're rebuilding it. Just like our muscles. When you work out, you're tearing your muscles down, but ultimately they're building back up. And so that's very important to me. I think when we realize that, okay, we've made a mistake, how can we fix it? How can we make things better? Because we can work towards fixing deforestation, but sometimes, like here in my area, trees have to be cut for different things and resources that we need, like medical hospitals. But it's
Mm,
how we built that medical hospital or how we built that building that makes it better. If we make it a green building, if we use sustainable engineering, sustainable design, and sustainable infrastructure, it kind of makes things better. But
mm,
on the other aspect of it, we have to find a different way to preserve our forests, um,
mm,
making sure we're not chopping them down for no good reason. But it's definitely
mm.
to be done.
Right, right. May I translate a little bit, please? อ่าฮะคืออย่างนี้นะครับก็ถามกับคุณชาเน่เนาะว่าคุณชาเน่เนี่ยตอนเนี้ยบางประเทศเนาะก็จะมีเกี่ยวกับการตัดไม้ทำลายป่าเนาะคราวนี้ก็ถามว่ามีความเห็นยังไงกับการที่มันบางทีความเจริญเนี่ยมันก็มาพร้อมกับการที่จะต้องสละเนาะพื้นที่สีเขียวหรือการตัดไม้ทำลายป่าคือคุณชาเน่บอกมันก็เป็นเรื่องที่มันก็หนักหนาเหมือนกันคราวนี้คุณชาเน่บอกคือถ้าเป็นเขาเนี่ยเขาขอจะบอกว่าถ้าเราจำเป็นที่จะต้องตัดไม้ทำลายป่าก็ขอให้สิ่งที่เราสร้างเนี่ยมันเป็นการทดแทนเพื่อสิ่งแวดล้อมอย่างเช่นอาจจะสร้างตึกหรือสร้างอะไรที่มันเป็นการอนุรักษ์สิ่งแวดล้อมนะคะใช้พลังงานธรรมชาติอะไรเงี้ยสิ่งก่อสร้างนะอันนั้นน่ะมันก็จะพอทำเนานะอันนั้นเขาก็เห็นว่ามันก็พอที่จะทดแทนกันได้นะครับอันนี้นะคุณชาเน่บอกนะครับเป็นสิ่งที่สำคัญแล้วก็คุณชาเน่เนี่ยเป็นคนที่ฉลาดมากนะคะก็คือว่ามองเห็นหลายๆอย่างว่าก็ถามเขาว่าไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องการที่อนุรักษ์ธรรมชาติหรือทำให้โลกเนี่ยมันเขียวขึ้นในสังคมผู้สูงอายุเนี่ยนะมันจะทำยังไงนะคะแล้วก็อย่างเช่นในการที่ลดอัตราเขาเรียกไงอาชญากรรมนะครับกับสิ่งแวดล้อมนี่จะยังไงคุณชาเน่เนี่ยก็คือในอนาคตเนี่ยไม่ช้านะครับก็จะเป็นทนายความนะครับทางด้านอาญานะครับเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยคุณชาเน่รณรงค์ในการที่จะลดอาชญากรรมซึ่งมันมีความเกี่ยวเนื่องกับการรักษาสิ่งแวดล้อมนะคะอันนี้ที่โค้ชถามนะครับคุณชาเน่ก็บอกนะคราวนี้คุณชาเน่เนี่ยมีการรณรงค์นะคะเกี่ยวกับการทิ้งขยะนะครับแล้วก็มีการระดมเงินอะไรมากมายนะคะเพื่อให้ทำตรงนี้เป็นเขาเรียกอะไรadvocate นะครับเป็นจริงนะครับอันนี้ก็ถามคุณชาเน่ต่อนะครับCharnae, so would you? I would love to know your strategy to win Miss Earth USA. So, what do you see in yourself that's going to better other stunning ladies in the contest?
I think that when you know that you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear, you're going to do everything in your power to make sure you do your best. And even if you do not win, it's about continuing the work. I think knowing and identifying that I have a story to tell and all the things we talked about today needs to be heard worldwide gives me the push to perform and create and tell a story on stage. I think oftentimes I won't give it a little too much of my tea because I got to keep it secret. But I think when you're able to tell a story and identify with certain things, you're going to be successful. And if it's for you, it's for you. And if it's for someone else, it's their time. But as long as the right person has the right mission and the right heart, the true winner will be just perfect.
Right. Also, being in a community service is actually essentially part of your life, I guess, because you're a member of Columbus Tree Board,
Yes.
World Wildlife Fund, Panda Ambassador. Wow. Solid Waste Association of North America Young Professional. Wow. City Manager, Millennium Roundtable, and Mayor Innovation Team. Oh, so you had done a
Many,
lot. Yeah.
many.
So I mean, in all initiative that you're involving with, I find it's very diverse. So, might you tell a little secrets that how you balance all,
Mhm.
all these things in a diverse environment and make them true?
Right. The number one thing I do to be able to balance all those environments is have me time, because if I don't take care of me, I can't take of all those things on my list. And so that goes back to spending time in nature for my mental health. But one thing I do, I'm very goal oriented. So if it's something I want to do, I set my mind to it. I make a list. I check off things as I go. And I have a very good support system. My mom, my family, they support me in everything I do. And so it gets hard. I always tell people, do not think I'm Wonder Woman, even though that's my role model. I think I'm Wonder Woman. I'll do a switch around and get stuff done. But I definitely have a team and I allow help. I have help. I have a community. All those things you saw is a community of people. So it's not just me, it's a community that's making and working towards change. And so it keeps me balanced. It keeps me balanced having those team members to help me for sure.
Right. So, tell me about your secret that how you gain your support when you try to initiate what you believe in. Like how to make them buying your idea.
I my secret is the heart. So I believe when you're relatable and you're personable and you're genuine about something and you're not trying to just sell something to someone, then you're a lot more able to relate to someone. I think we're all big on relating versus someone just selling us something. And so my secret is just having a genuine passion, making sure I care about it first before I'm trying to make someone else care about it. Because if you're putting on a front, it's going to show. If you don't really care about what you're preaching or passionate about, and no one's going to buy into it either. It's like someone trying to sell you a bad car and they wouldn't drive it. If you're not going to drive it, why would you sell it to me? So that's my secret, is making sure I'm selling what I would buy and I'm giving what I would give into. So that's my secret. There's no secret to it. Just be passionate.
Okay, because you actually, I can say you actually established, okay, beauty queen. So aside from being in the Miss Earth, if you can say, or if you can advise, how could you bring the green agenda or green initiative to be implemented in other beauty pageant as well, to make a lot of people aware of, to be in a part of green agenda.
Definitely. Without taking away too much of Miss Earth's mission and to tie it into other pageants, I think helping the other pageants identify sustainable ways to do things, maybe having a sustainable fashion show, maybe, doing sustainable makeup, where they're using eco-friendly brands. And so encouraging them to do a sustainable pageant where they're having different events on community service. I know oftentimes they do community service, so maybe doing a cleanup instead of a food bank, which everything's important, but just highlighting to them to have that environmental friendly aspect, having biodegradable straws when they eat dinners during their pageant, having reusable silverware. I think there is definitely ways Miss Earth can encourage and influence the other pageant worlds. If I was granted the opportunity to be Miss Earth, that would actually be on my checklist to encourage them. Hey, as you're having this pageant, make sure you're offering them reusable water bottles. Here's some. So that's
Mm,
definitely how we can do that, I think, and that'll help them kind of trigger something in their mind to think more green as well.
mm. So, Charnae, what about if someone, counter you? Like, if you bring some green initiative to other, not other actually, um, typical beauty pageant, you might make beauty pageant losing some spice because evening gown probably might be used repeatedly, and in the period of final, it just be the same,
Yeah.
and fan base might be dropping, I mean, smaller, Okay, so in terms of commercial, okay, in terms of commercial power, probably some entrepreneur of the pageantry might not be enticing about the idea of of bringing initiative.
I think that's where the conversation needs to be more open. I think when we think about sustainable fashion, we think of like reusing a gown, but did you know you can actually make gowns out of other stuff? So if you're unique and you make a gown out of some kind of exotic material or something like that, or even when it's costume, making the costume out of something that's creative, going in nature and finding something. It can be glass. I seen one girl in competition, she used CD disc for her wardrobe instead of jewels. That is sustainable fashion, and that's cool. I think it's definitely it would kind of spark an interest in some, and it'll kind of turn some off. But it's definitely opening. It would open a creative eye for them to go figure out how can I make a sustainable costume, and it's not just reusing fabrics. It's about using products that don't cost the environment a lot. So I definitely think there would be some turn heads, but it would be fun to watch recyclable fashion or green fashion or slow fashion, fun fashion, all of that.
So, how would you send encouraging message to probably pageantry entrepreneur on on advocating the green agenda? Why they probably concerning losing some fan base?
Hmm. The message I would send to them is to find a way for it to work without losing their fan base. I think that goes back to everything we talked about today, finding how they can do it where it relates to them without them losing their audience. There's always a way for us to be green and stay green within our mission and our different individual ways of life, because we never want to subtract from an organization or a pageant owner. We always want to add to it. And I think the different things when you're innovative, you're never going to lose anyone. You're truly going to grow people, because when you're innovative, you're changing, you're elevating, you're staying current with the times. And so I definitely would encourage them to find a green agenda that matches their mission. So for example, if it was modeling was closer to that pageant's mission, finding ways to be more sustainable in modeling without losing your audience, that would be very important.
Right. Wow. Such a precious recommendation. I mean, to all like pageantry organizer in the future, because I think going green is very important
Mhm.
nowadays and in the future indeed. We just can't avoid, because otherwise we probably experience more some disaster due to the mother nature hurt sort of. And also any concern that you're going to not going to actually you having at the moment, and or you foreseeing that could happen in the future if without green awareness.
I believe our air quality. If we continue to emit into our air quality as much as we are now, if we continue to have air quality and water quality, if we continue to litter, if we continue to contaminate those two things, we're going to see a large rise in health issues. We're going to see a large spike in just a lot of our resources, because sometimes what happens if our water is contaminated, we don't have healthy drinking water. If our air is contaminated, our air in our body is contaminated. And so I think those are two things that I see potentially that if we don't do something now, that can be detrimental in the future. And it's what causes a lot of things that happen in climate change. And so um, for sure, those two things are on my concern list.
Hmm. Yeah. So your concern is quite large, on the scale. So as we know, the party who usually emit the air pollution tend to be a very large sector or
Mhm.
enterprise. So, as you, as a citizen yourself,
Mhm.
um, like a normal citizen, and you got a very great concern of this issue, but you tend to face with a massive enterprise on this issue. So how could you make your voice heard by them, okay, as a citizen? Or actually, how can you collectively bring all force in your community to be aware and to make a wake up call to the big organization to to tend more on the green environment.
Right. And I agree. The concern I have is very large, but it's very small as well. It's is as small as if you realize for us here in in the Columbus Phoenix City area, we have a river that connects us, the Chattahoochee River. But that river flows all the way up into different states and cities. And so what I would encourage people to do, how I would get the mission out is through stuff like that. Is this one river connects us all.
Mm.
This water, the quality of this water affects us all. And even though it seems like a large issue, we all, if we individually take different areas of that one river, in that one area, we can all make a positive change in water quality, making sure that there's no litter or any contaminants in that water. And as far as getting my mission out to everyone else, I would encourage them to get involved in organizations such as the Keep America Beautiful affiliates there all over the place in the US, and in other nations, making sure that you are using different things that can help you get your. I think there is like legislation on WWF that you can sign pledges to. You can send letters to your legislators. So I would get my message out to just try to encourage people to take action wherever they can.
Wow. Okay. Have you even imagined how we conserve the environment if we're going to be on Mars?
If we're going to be where? Say that one more time.
Mars. Mars.
As in the planet. Oh, oh. Well, I'd have to go back to the drawing book on that one, Co. I'd have to come back to you. That I am not sure. We have to all do some research on that one. I think that one's a definitely tough one. I'm gonna pack my bags when Mars is open because I think that would be a fun trip.
I mean, you're very intelligent, okay? Very intelligent indeed. That's why I'm very curious on many issue on environmentalism. That's why I asking you because I do believe that you're very involved in what you're doing. So you know a lot of what you're doing well. And also, what do you think about my audience mentioned that you like Michelle Obama?
I saw
You
that comment and I smiled on the inside because that is a role model of mine. I love Michelle Obama. That is one person who helped people connect to what they're passionate about and make effective change. So I appreciate that compliment. Thank you to who stated that. I feel like I'm going to go around walking like Michelle Obama today.
several, Charnae, not only one, okay, several. Like you,
Several.
yeah, you're beautiful and also
Thank you.
very, look alike of Michelle Obama. She also my favorite first lady as well. I really love her.
Yes.
She's very inspirational lady indeed, and also I think she's lawyer as well, right?
Yes.
She's Mm-hmm. Just perfect lady, very capable, very capable
Yes.
indeed. So okay, so if anything that you would leave your message here, okay, to the worldwide audience, my fans and your fans as well, about to let them follow your journey and also to always be aware of the world condition now today.
Right. I would like to leave everyone with this thought. Find out what your nature is to nurture the earth. Find out where you can connect. Find out what's important in your area and learn how you can make effective change on a small level to affect it on the large level. And always remember your small step makes it even better for us to make a larger change. And to always keep up with Co and follow him on his KP1 Worldwide Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So you can stay up to date with all the beauty queens and all the things we're doing across the globe. And please also check out my Miss Alabama Earth page so you can continue to stay updated on how I will uplift Earth. And thank you again, Co, for having me. It's been so fun talking to you. And I hope I can make it to Thailand and visit
Please.
all these great places.
I'm ready to open my arm wide, okay, for you. And also, lastly, I would love to mention this to all the fans worldwide again. So actually, Charnae, also entrepreneur, she own cosmetic line. So, what is it? Just promote yourself, promote your product.
Yes. So I am working towards creating sustainable makeup. So it'll be vegan products. I launched a test run in 2019. It did really well, but I want to make sure that I can provide those products that are eco-friendly. And so hopefully by, the next 2 years, I'll be able to sell those actual products. But as of right now, I do makeup on other women. So kind of like, doing makeup services and using vegan brands until I can have my own. And so if you ever need your makeup done or if you want to learn how to do makeup, you can definitely also check me out on YouTube as well.
All right, so Shanae actually provide some tutorial. Okay, so aside having a very beautiful beauty queen tonight, we also have a great magician on makeup artist on makeup artistry.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you indeed, Charnae Ware, Miss Alabama Earth
Thank
2022.
you. Thank you.
I do believe that Shanna will be going really well on the trail. Because she's very strong and very intelligent,
Thank
and
you.
she work hard, very dedicated, and
Thank
she
you.
very knowledgeable on whatever she has her hands on. So I do believe that she's going to fly high. Okay, in the
Thank
content.
you.
And
Thank you so much.
support you, Shanae. And I'm glad indeed and so honored that you visit my program. And I wish all my fans worldwide, especially Filipinos, Indonesia, Thai, and Bangladesh, India, and so many parts in the world. Please support and follow Shanae Ware. Miss Alabama Earth 2022 at her IG, Miss Alabama Earth, okay, as shown on my screen. And thank you indeed. And see you next time. And I'm waiting for your visit to Thailand, Chennai. Okay.
Thank you. I will
A lot,
get there.
a lot of heart.
Bye.
Bye. See you. Bye bye. ขอบ
Thank
คุณมากนะครั
you.
บ